Hey folks, today I'm going to be talking about the Mage nerfs coming in 1.2 from the perspective of somebody who has put many hundreds of hours playing Mage in 1.0 and 1.1. I've made some pretty strong builds. I've min-maxed ward scaling and all that stuff. Yeah, so I think I have a pretty good idea of how most of this stuff works as far as Mage. So yeah, let's jump into it. So if you haven't seen the most recent dev talk, basically they've said one of the main things they tease, like the only actual tangible pieces of information around this that we have, is that the ward scaling for each point of int is going from 4% down to 2%. Now this is a pretty big deal because a lot of the current best mage builds are int stackers. This may change in the future depending on what benefits we get from int stacking. Currently Enigma is quite strong. There's also a possibility in 1.2 Velatria could be quite strong with the set changes, so it's possible we could have more int-stacking meta. So if that's the case, this is quite relevant. So here we have a build that is a int-stacker. You can see I have 185 int, 806 ward retention. Most of my ward retention comes from the int, because like we said, it's 4 per point. So if they cut that in half, we're going to go from about 800 to somewhere around 400. This is like really big deal. That's pretty big difference. And I think before we continue, we'll jump a little bit over to the math on that. So you can see here the formula. It's a little bit unclear just looking at the formula what that actually means, but because of the way ward retention calculations work, each point of stable ward is significantly harder to get than the last. So that, just keep that in mind. So if you're used to getting somewhere around 10,000 ward, like this build here is, just quickly cast some spells. You can see we're generating a stupid amount of ward, somewhere around 11,000 stable ward. We have 1100 ward decay threshold. We have 806 ward retention, and somewhere around 13 to 1400 ward generation per second. So let's jump over to Tunk Labs and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is roughly what my character looks like simulated here in Tunk Labs. So you can see we're around 800 ward retention. If we drop this down to about 400, you can see we don't actually lose that much because, like I said, each point of stable ward, because of the way the ward retention math works, is much harder to get than the last. So you're really not actually losing that much. And I think it's also important to note here is that we've just seen the nerf side of these rebalances. We've just seen this int ward scaling nerf. What we also know is that they are doing a bunch of rebalancing around the passive skills, items, affixes, and so on of how you get your sources of ward generation. So right now in the current game, there's a few really strong mechanics that almost all of the mage ward builds build around. So like Lost Knowledge as an example, you get about a third of your current mana per cast. And this is insanely strong. So what you see right now is most of the best current mage builds use these really strong mechanics to their fullest. Like the builds that are the best for mage use as many of these broken things as possible in the build. So just this alone, you have, I don't even have that much mana. Some people have like double this or more. But yeah, you can see every cast is giving a stupid amount. And it's not even just this, there's other things too. There's some stuff in Frostclaw, some shenanigans in there. But yeah, basically what I think all of these things do is they tend to limit build diversity around the builds that can abuse these the best. And that's kind of what we have now, where we have the really strong builds, they abuse these. Yeah, so I am hoping that will help build diversity if you're less stuck on that, because then you have more choice in your items. I'm a little bit worried about moving it towards items because now the ward may be competing with a lot of other stuff. So if it's an affix on item, now you have to choose between int and ward retention or resists and ward retention and so on, right? Like if that's what the change is, you're now going to have choices. But what's really interesting is life builds have kind of had that problem all along. If you're a life build, you have your flat life, you have hybrid health, you have percent health, you may even have endurance, probably not endurance threshold, but maybe. Like you have all of these things trying to fit them on items, whereas mage builds, all we've had to do is just slam int on an item and it's done. Int is your damage, it's your defense, it's your cast speed sometimes, cooldown, crit chance, like it can be all of these things. Just need one affix and your build is pretty much done. So yeah, I really don't think that this is a big deal. The information we've had, and like I said, it's only one piece of information. EHG has the whole picture here. We just have one little piece. And I think part of the blame here of all the complaints I'm seeing about mage nerfs is on EHG. When you have large set of balance changes like this ward health rebalancing thing, if the only bit of information that we get teased is a nerf, people are going to fixate on that. Like if you say there's 100 changes and then you tease one change and that's like, oh, mage is nerfed, right? You don't know the 99 other changes, but you're going to fixate on the one that you're aware of. And that's exactly what we're seeing in like comments on YouTube and Reddit and Discord. It's people being upset about that ward retention nerf, even though it's not a big deal on its own. And I guess I just want to draw a bit of a parallel to 1.1. It was the exact same thing, same situation. We'll jump over to one of the videos I uploaded right before 1.1 dropped. And there was a lot of complaints around, so like ward nerfs, people were really upset. Frostclaw nerfs, people were really upset. Saw a lot of comments of people saying like, Mage is dead, Frostclaw is dead, ward builds are dead, and so on. You can see nerfs, we had the Frostclaw, whatever. This comment is referencing, I believe, Static Orb. They're saying it was a big nerf to Static Orb, which, as we know, Static Orb ended up being insane in 1.2. We're one-shotting bosses. Frostclaw ended up being one of the best builds in the game. Ward builds are still the best in the game. So yeah, like, I guess the whole point of making this video is basically when you see like one little piece of information with a nerf, let's try not to jump to conclusions. EHG has a lot more information than we do. We just have that one little piece. So let's just hang tight. We'll see what happens. I'm quite sure that Mage is going to be completely fine in 1.2 with what we've seen so far with like the set item changes and the new unique stuff with like focus and all the other cool changes coming. I think we're going to be okay. Just a hunch, but yeah, let's sit tight, wait to see what they come up with, and yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.